DJI have just released the latest firmware for the DJI Mini 4 Pro and the RC2 controller, version 01000600 for the Mini 4 Pro and 02020100 for the RC2 controller. Let's do this. So hello and welcome once again to the channel on this very fine day here in the UK. And as I've just said, DJI have just released this latest firmware for the Mini 4 Pro and for the RC2 controller as well. With those two firmwares comes along a new Fly app 1.13.8, and that is available on the App Store for iOS, and it's also available for Android as well. Unfortunately, it's not available yet for the RC and the Mini 3 Pro and the likes of the Classics and things like that. So, but if you've got the RC-N1 or RC-N2 controllers, then you should be okay to fly with the latest Fly app 1.13.8. What does it bring us? Anything new? Any features? What are the enhancements? Let's have a look into the video and see exactly what it's all about. So here we go then, there's the new firmwares, as I've just said, and it's quite a large one, and it does take around about half an hour. It did fail for me once, but I had to retry it, and then it went straight through, but it does take around about half an hour. It's quite a large one. So as you can see there, added support for enhanced transmission in some countries and regions, and fix some known issues, which is the usual DJI statement. And for the RC2, similar kind of thing, added support for enhanced transmissions in some countries and regions, and fixed some known issues once again. So here's a new one for you. Once you've done your updates, this will flash up on your screen, and it's a new one. I don't know what it means because it's in Chinese, but that will come up and it will take around 2 minutes, it says. However, it took about 5 minutes. Just one to be aware of. So looking into the menus, it's always best to check these things. As you can see just there, 1.13.8, that's the latest Fly app. I always double check on the updates, even though we've just done one. As you can see the aircraft firmware at 01000600. Like I say, I'm looking through the menus. Everything is exactly as it was. However, it's always best to check. I'll just show you just there. The max altitude hasn't changed here in the UK because we always get that question asked. Always best to check down in advanced safety settings and make sure that your return to home is selected on signal loss, if that's how you have it set. Checking in control, there's nothing changed whatsoever. Another thing that you might need to check is that gain and expo tuning settings. So if, like me, you've altered this in the past, these can change, as it has done on mine. I've noticed just by looking at the sliders that some of these have changed. And a little later on in the video, when I do a little flight test, that's when I noticed that the angular velocity and the brake sensitivity had changed. So always best to go in there and double check that they are set correctly. Nothing's changed. Now, one thing that they might have done is introduce the 5 gig into the countries that haven't got it, and the regions that haven't got it. I'm talking there about the 5.2 gig and not the 5.4. So just something to be aware of. Just checking in the profile and the settings. You can see just there under the settings, and if we click the About section and scroll up a little bit, 1.13.8 D-pad. So that's the latest Fly app that comes in the firmware updates. So moving on to a quick flight test, I just decided to take it out this afternoon and just fly out, usual kind of thing, just making sure that all the controls work. I'm not going to bore you to death on a lot of the things that I tested, But I did do a little return to home test and a quick shot test just to make sure that the thing is actually functioning. Like I say, if I was to do this for every function that's in the actual fly app, would be here all week. So basically just checking just here on what the return to home height is set for, and the advanced is set on optimal and not preset, so we're at 81 feet, and we should see that when I hit return to home, that should then stay at that particular height. So here we go then, we hit the return to home, and as you can see, it starts to return to home and it stays at 81 feet. So moving on, I'm just going to get it in position for a quick shot. We'll do a quick droney. And if, like me, you when you select your quick shots, we'll just get rid of that screen. As you can see, I've got subject tracking on and it's trying to find and pick a subject. So we've just selected my car just there. That's quite useful for when you're doing something in a hurry and you want to get over that delay of drawing a box around your subject. If you've got subject tracking on and it sees that subject, that's a great way of quickly doing a quick shot or using spotlight. So as you can see, that's worked absolutely fine. It's now returning back to where it took off from. So we're just going to put it back to where it was, and then I'm going to fly back out and we'll do a proper return to home test and just check that the function is working as it should. These are just little snippets from the test flight that I did earlier. I just wanted to bring something for you guys out there to say that yes, I've been out and tested it, it flies okay, it's stable, and to make sure that certain functions work as it does. Like I said earlier, I can't test absolutely everything because we'll be here all week doing a video, and I'm sure you guys will be bored to death and turn off halfway through. However, I will summarize it back in the studio, and as you can see there, that AR function is working fine, and that's exactly where I took off from on that home point, so it's pretty spot on. So there we go, in a nutshell, no new features. A couple of things that you need to watch out for, and that is checking your settings, making sure that your return to home is still set to return to home on signal loss, and also checking in your gain and expose settings as well. As you saw in that little test flight that I did, mine was quite vicious on certain movements, and when I looked into the menus and checked the settings, I realized that they've been altered. So it's always best to double check your settings through the menus. And as you saw earlier in the video, there's no new features, there's nothing new in the menus at all, everything's exactly as it was. Anything out of the video? Well, like I say, what does it fix? It fixes the fact that it's enhanced the transmission in certain areas and countries as well. Now, I did notice on a couple of forums that people were saying that they'd had some problems with signal losses at very short distances. So this new firmware could actually help you if you're one of them. However, I've updated the firmware and I've updated the software, as you've seen, and I can't see anything wrong with it. I didn't go through absolutely everything on the test flight. It would be virtually impossible, and you'd be watching this video for hours. Don't forget, update your batteries as well. You never know. There's usually a firmware update for your batteries once you've had a firmware for the RC and certainly the Mini 4 Pro. If you got something out of the video, as always, don't forget, give us the old thumbs up, and if you're new around here, why don't you consider subscribing, dinging the dong and all the rest of it. I'm sure you know me by now, and you might like to watch those couple of videos over there that I've chosen, and if you do, I shall see you over there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.